We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Chesam and Beis Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 58b. On the previous Amud, there was a machlokas tanoim between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva when it says in the pasuk of Al Kein Yazov Ish Es Aviv Ves Imo. That's the source for how we understand what is considered to be arayas for Bnei Noach. Rabbi Eliezer learns from that pasuk that we're talking about arayas that involve siblings, not that involve arayas through marriage. That's how Rabbi Eliezer understands. Rabbi Akiva understands that when it comes to Bnei Noach, what is prohibited is anything where there's a death penalty administered by a Jewish court in terms of halacha of what is arayas. So that's going to be considered arayas for Bnei Noach, and that's why Rabbi Akiva says that what the pasuk is referring to ishus. It's referring to situations of relatives through marriage. That's the machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva. And the Gemara now says what exactly is the root of the machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva. And the Gemara explains Rabbi Eliezer holds aviv when it says in the pasuk again, it says Al Kein Yazov Ish Es Aviv Ves Imo. A person will leave his father and his mother v'davak beishto, and he'll cling to his wife. That was said to Adam HaRishon. That's why we understand that this is a commandment for non-Jews. So when it says aviv in the pasuk, dumya de imo, so aviv has to be similar to imo in the pasuk. Ve'imo dumya de aviv, and also mother has to be similar to father in the pasuk. So lo mashkachas lo ela bi'achva. The only way that you can find that they'll be exactly similar is if you say that when it says aviv, it means the sister of his father. When it says imo, it means the sister of his mother. That's how you can understand, again, that both words are referring essentially to the equivalent idea. Rashi explains aviv dumya de imo ve'imo dumya de aviv lo mashkachas lo ela b'isr de achva. You're only going to find it through siblings if you want father and mother to be similar in the pasuk. The tarvayu mamish like lamemer. Obviously, you can't say that it's both talking about his actual father and his actual mother, as we said on the previous Amud. Dim kein hainu v'davak v'lo b'zocher, because if that was the case, it already says that a man cannot be from a man, that cannot be with another man. That's learned from v'davak. And Rashi continues, tarvayu b'ishas like lamemer. You also can't say that both aviv and imo in the pasuk are talking about ishas, are talking about marriage. To imo lav mishum ishas, because it can't be that his mother is because of the fact that she's married. Dim kein hainu ishas aviv, because that would be the same as just the wife of his father. Hilkach tarvayu ba'achva. So therefore, again, Rabbi Eliezer understands that they're both talking about siblings. They're talking about the sister of the father and the sister of the mother. For Rabbi Akiva, now Rabbi Akiva, he responds to that. He says, mutav lu'ukmei be'eshes aviv. It's better to say that we're not talking about the sister of his father. Better to say we're talking about the wife of his father. De ikri ervas aviv, because that could be referred to as ervas aviv. You can use the word ervas. You can use the language of arayas in that situation. La'afuke achos aviv. That's to exclude the sister of his father. The she'er aviv ikri, because the sister of the father would be called she'er aviv, like the relative of his father. Ervas aviv lo ikri, that would not be called the ervas aviv, the nakedness of his father. Rashi explains, Rabbi Akiva mutav lu'ukma be'eshes aviv. Better to say the pasuk means the wife of his father. Kemashma'usei dekra. That already is more like the simple understanding of the pasuk. Dekari le aviv dechsev yazov ish es aviv ve'eshes aviv eshkechon dekari b'Yisrael ervas aviv. We find that the wife of a father is called ervas aviv. Dechsev ervas avichahi, like it says in the pasuk, ervas avichahi. V'lav lu'ukma ba'achos aviv. Better to do that and not say that we're talking about the sister of the father. Dekra lo mashmachi. That's not what the pasuk sounds like it's talking about. The achos aviv she'er aviv hu deikri, because the sister of his father would be referred to as she'er aviv. Ervas achos avicha lo sagala ki she'er avichahi, like we find in the pasuk. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come and hear the following proof. The pasuk says, Vayikach Amram es Yocheved dodaso. It says that Amram took Yocheved, who was his aunt. We're assuming over here that they are following the halachas that apply to Bnei Noach, the halachas that apply to non-Jews. So my laugh, so doesn't it mean to say, dodaso min ha'em, that she was his aunt also maternally, and so therefore it would seem to imply that a maternal relative in that fashion, that's going to be permitted. Rashi explains, dodaso achos kahas aviv. Again, she was his aunt, so she was the sister of Kahas, who was the father of Amram. My lav does not mean to say achos Kahas. It means she was the sister of Kahas. Af min ha'emai. So it doesn't mean she was only the maternal sister, but she was at least also the maternal sister of Kahas. V'hutra le'Amram, and that was permitted. Amram was allowed to marry her. Alma achos of min ha'em. So you see that the sister of the father, that's a maternal sister of the father, muteres lo kodem matan Torah, that is mutter before matan Torah. That would be a proof to Rabbi Akiva, because again, when you have these kinds of sibling relationships. According to Jewish law, that would just be kares. Those would be mutter according to Rabbi Akiva, because only things where there's a death penalty, according to halacha, is it aser for the Bnei Noach. So that would be a proof to Rabbi Akiva, and that would be a proof against Rabbi Eliezer. And the Gemara says, lo, no, that's not what it means. It could be dodaso min ha'av. It could be that it was only paternally that she was his aunt. Rashi says, lo dodaso min ha'av achos kahas min ha'av. It could be that she was the sister of Kahas, but she was only the sister of Kahas through her father. They shared a father. V'lo min ha'im, but it wasn't maternal. They didn't share a mother. V'achos ha'av hutra lahem, and that again, even according to Rabbi Eliezer, the sister that's just paternal, that would be mutter. And Rashi continues, v'hadechsev Ya'azov ishas aviv v'darshinan achos aviv. And when it says again Ya'azov ishas aviv, and we say a drush according to Rabbi Eliezer refers to the sister of his father, b'achos u'minayim kamar. Again, that's just the sister through his mother. K'di alfinan mi v'gam amna achosi bas avihi. We said this on the previous summer. We're going to mention this pasuk now as well. Like it says in the pasuk, she is my sister, the daughter of my father. Again, as we explained, that pasuk also means maternal is going to be arayas, but if it's paternal, it is not considered arayas for Bnei Noach. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here, the following proof. This is the pasuk Rashi just quoted. V'gam omna achosi bas avi hi achlo bas imi. This is Avram talking about Sarah. He says Sarah is my sister bas avi. She's my sister, the daughter of my father, but she's not the daughter of my mother. Mechlal. So what would that imply? De bas ha'im asura. That implies that the daughter of his mother would actually be a problem, would be prohibited, and that would be a sibling, a maternal sibling that's prohibited. This is a proof for Rabbi Eliezer. Rashi explains, Tashma v'gam omna mechlal debasa im asura. It sounds like the daughter through the mother, let's say it's a half-sister that's a maternal half-sister. It sounds like it's asur. Kasha Rabbi Akiva. That would be difficult according to Rabbi Akiva. But the Gemara continues, V'tizbra, but is that even logical? Achoso havoi, was she even his sister? In other words, if we take the pasuk literally, Avram is saying that Sarah is his sister. That's not even true. So it can't be that's what the pasuk means. Bas achiv havoi, we know that Sarah was really the daughter of his brother. V'kevan dehachiu, and since that's true, loshna min ha'av, v'loshna min ha'em sharia. The daughter of his brother would be mutter to him, and it doesn't matter if it's through his father, it doesn't matter if it's through the mother, it's always going to be permitted. Elahasam hachi kamarle, what was happening over there was, he was just saying to him as follows, Korva da achos isli bahada me abba velo me ima. There is a sister kind of relationship that I have over here from the father's side and not from the mother's side. Rashi explains, Achoso have a bitmia. Do you think that Sarah was the sister of Avram? Habas achiv hava. She was the daughter of his brother. She was his niece. Vekevan dahachin. Since that's true, lo shna min ha'em velo shna min ha'av shariale. It actually wouldn't matter, even if it was maternal. It wouldn't make any difference. It would still be permitted. And Rashi says, Elahasam hachi hav amarle. Rather over there, this is what Avram was saying to him. Korva de'achua bas achi min ha'avi. That she's related because she's the daughter of my brother. That's my paternal brother. Velo min ha'em. He's my paternal brother. He's not my maternal brother. And the reason why he's saying it's a paternal brother, not a maternal brother, is not because maternal would have been problematic, and if it's a paternal brother, it's mutter. Rather, what he's doing is explaining what he first said. Because originally he said, that's my sister. So so now he's saying to him like this, Achosi bas avihi. She's my sister, the daughter of my father. De bas achi ben avihi, because it happens to be she's the daughter of my brother, who is the son of my father. Again, he's my paternal brother. V'kari la'achoso, and he refers to her as his sister. The bnei banim harem kebanim, because grandchildren can be referred to as children. V'harehi kebas aviv, and she's as if she's the daughter of his father. V'hai dekamar ach lo bas imi, when he says it's not the daughter of my mother, again, la mishum di hava achva min ha'em have asur. It's not because if there was a relationship that was maternal, it would have been prohibited. Ela mishum kushta de milsa amarlo. That just happens to be what was true, so that is what he said. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here, the following proof, Malo nasa Adam es bita. Why didn't Adam marry his daughter? Kedei sheisa kainas achos. It was in order that Cain could marry his sister. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Ki amarti olam chesed yibane, because I said that the world should be built out of chesed. That again we should allow Cain to be able to marry his sister, so they can procreate, so the world could be built. And so the Gemara now says halav hachi. Now, if not for the fact that this was involving chesed, asira. So it sounds like it actually would have been forbidden for the brother to be with the sister. And if we're saying that it's forbidden for the brother to be with the sister, that would seem to be like Rabbi Eliezer, that this kind of relationship of siblings for Bnei Noach is asur, because again, according to Rabbi Akiva, that should have been mutter. And the Gemara says, no, kevan de ishtri. Rabbi Akiva will say, once it was permitted for this chesed reason, so it actually became completely permitted, exactly like Rabbi Akiva says. And Rashi explains, Chesed Yibana, the world is built out of Chesed. Tchilaso shel olam nivne bechesed. The beginning of the world was built through Chesed. Shetziva adam harishon ligmal Chesed es beno v'asra lo v'tir l'kayin. That was the Chesed again, that the daughter of Adam Harishon was asra to him, but mutter to Kayin kadesha Yibana ha'olam. So the world would be built. V'hainu d'chsiv esachoso b'asaviv Chesed. That's also why it says in the pasuk by sister. It also uses the word Chesed. Mashet tarti l'kayin Chesed gamalti imo, because that which it was permitted to Kayin, that was a Chesed. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Huna says, Kusi mutter bebito, a non-Jew is mutter to have relations with his daughter. V'im tomar, now if you're going to ask, why didn't Adam Harishon marry his daughter? That was Kadesh Yisa Kayin Esacho, so that was in order that Kayin should marry his sister, Misham Olam Chesed Yibon, as we said above, because the world is built from Chesed. And the Gemara continues, V'ika Diamri, there are those that say a different version. Amar Rav Huna says, Kusi Osir Bebito, that a non-Jew is forbidden to be with his daughter. And Teda, you should know, Shalo Nasa Adam Esbito, because Adam Harishon did not marry his daughter. But the Gemara says, Velohi, it's not true, it's not a proof. Hasam over there, Hainu time, but the reason why Adam did not marry his daughter, Kadesh Yisa Kayin Esachoso, it was in order that Kayin should marry his sister, Misham Da'olam Chesed Yibana, because the world should be built from Chesed. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Chisda says, Eved mutter be'imo umutter bebito. An Eved, a slave, is mutter to be with his mother, is mutter to be with his daughter. And the idea is, Yotza Michlal Kusi, the idea is he's no longer considered to be a non-Jew, because an Eved does convert, talking about an Eved Kanani. However, V'lechlal Yisrael lo ba, but he's not Jewish either, so there's no gezerah like we had on the previous Amud. Rashi explains, Kusi mutter bebito, a non-Jew is mutter with his daughter, Bein Rabbi Eliezer, Bein Rabbi Akiva, whether you're following Rabbi Eliezer or Rabbi Akiva, to Kasavar Rav Huna, because Rav Huna holds, Lo Yalfinon Shara Arayos Mehanach Tichsivi B'Hai Krov. We don't learn other Arayos from those which are written in the Pasuk. Midapart Kolhani, and from the fact that certain Arayos are specified by B'nai Noach, Shmamino Davka Kasvinu, you see that it's only by those, and it's not by these other Arayos. Eved Kanani Shal Yisrael, and then we said an Eved Kanani of a Jew, mutter be'imo ubebito, he's mutter to be with his mother and his daughter, v'kol shekain b'shar arayas shel korva, and certainly by all other arayas that have to do with being a relative, because yotza michlal kus, he's not considered a non-Jew, upag Hashem ben noach mine, so all of the rules of arayas by a non-Jew, they leave him. V'lechlal Yisrael lo ba, but he's also not considered Jewish, to ligzar leoleh, mishum, that we should make a gezerah, mishum d'shema yomru boin mikadusha chamur lekadusha kala, because again, as we said, that when a person converts, so we don't say that in that situation the relatives are going to be mutter, because we don't want people to say that it's more lenient that he became a Jew, because again, when he converts, he's not related to any of those former relatives halachically. But here you don't say that, because here you're talking about an Eved Kanani. We're not talking about a full-fledged Jew, so to speak, and so therefore you don't have that gezerah. That's why, again, by the Eved Kanani, he's going to be mutter to be with his mother and with his daughter and with the other relatives. And the Gemara continues, Kiyasar Rav Dimi Amar Reb Elazar Amar Bechanina. When Rav Dimi came, he said that Reb Elazar said, that Reb Chanina said, Ben Noach sheyiched shivcha liavdo. Let's say a Ben Noach, a non-Jew, he designates a maidservant for his slave, that they're going to be as a married couple, Uba aleh, and then he has relations with her. So Nereg aleh, he's killed over her. It's considered like she's a married woman. And the Gemara says, Me'emas, from what point in time, from when is she considered to be married to the Eved? Amar Rav Nachman says, Mi dekaru lo Ravisa de Planya, from when they start referring to her as the girl of so-and-so. And the Gemara continues, Me'emes hatarasa, so from what point in time would she be mutter? At what point in time would she no longer be considered married to this particular Eved? And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Huna says, Mishapara Rosha B'Shuk, when she goes in the marketplace with her head uncovered, married women would cover their hair. At the time that she uncovers her hair, that shows she is separated from this man. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Elazar says that Rabbi Chanina says, Ben Noach shabo alishto shelo kedarka. If a Ben Noach, a non-Jew, has relations with his wife in the not normal fashion, he has relations with his wife not vaginally but anally, chayiv. So in such a situation, he will be chayiv. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, v'davak, it says that he has to cling to his wife. V'lo shelo kedarka. It doesn't mean that he can be with her not in the normal fashion. But the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Mi'ika midi di Yisrael mechayiv. Is there such a thing that a Jew would not be liable for that if he's with his wife shelo kedarka? V'kusi mechayiv, and we're saying that the non-Jew is liable in such a situation. That cannot be the case. Elamar Rava, rather Rava says, Ben Noach shabo al ishes chaveiro shelo kedarka. What the real halacha is that if a Ben Noach, if a non-Jew has relations with the wife of his friend in an abnormal fashion, pater, so there he'd be pater in terms of eshes ish, in terms of adultery. My time, what's the reason? Be'ishto v'lo be'eshes chaveiro. chaveru. Again, it says he has to be with his wife and not the wife of his friend. But v'davak, it has to be in the form of clinging. V'lo shelo kedarka, it would not apply if it was shelo kedarka, if it was in the abnormal fashion. And the Gemara continues, Amar Reb Chanina says, Ovid Kochavim Shehiko Es Yisrael, if an Ovid Kochavim, if a non-Jew strikes a Jew, Chayev Misa, he's Chayev the death penalty. Shenemar, as it says, Vayifen Kov V'chov Vayar Ki Einish, this is by Moshe Rabbeinu, he looked this way and that way, he saw no one was around, Vayach Es HaMitzri, and he struck the Mitzri, because of the fact that the Mitzri struck the Yisrael, struck the Jew. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Reb Chanina says, Hasoter Loo Shel Yisrael, if somebody strikes the cheek of a Jew, Ki'ilu Soter Loo Shel Shechina, that's like striking the cheek of the Shechina. Shenemar, as it says, Mokesh Adam Yola Kodesh. And Rashi explains, Mokesh Adam Yola Kodesh, Hanokesh Asa Adam Hainu Yisrael. The way we interpret the pasuk is if he strikes a man, Adam here refers to Yisrael. Shekruyan Adam, because Yisrael is referred to as Adam, as Rashi goes on to explain from the pasuk. Yola Kodesh, so that's Yola Kodesh. Kilu Loa Esa Kodesh. It's like he strikes the cheek of the Kodesh of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kolomer Kesoter Al-Loho. It's like he strikes him on the cheek. And the Gemara continues at the two dots with a mnemonic for the upcoming Gemara. Magbia Avdo Shabbos Siman. The Siman is Magbia Avdo and Shabbos. Amar Reish Lakish says, Hamagbia Yado Al Chaver. If somebody lifts his hand against his friend, Afal Bishalo Hiko, even though he doesn't hit him, he doesn't strike him, Nikra Rasha, he's still called a Rasha. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Vayomer LaRashi says to the wicked, Lama Sake Reyecha, why should you strike your friend? Lama Hikisa Lo Nemer doesn't say why did you strike your friend. Ela Lama Sake, it says why should you strike Afal Pisha Loiko, even though he didn't strike him, Nikra Rasha, he's called a Rasha. Ziri Amar Reb Chanina, Ziri says that Reb Chanina says Nikra Chote, he's called a sinner. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, V'im lo, and if not, Lokachti Bechazaka, then I'm going to take it by force. Uchsivin, it's written in the pasuk, this is by the Bnei Eli, it's written Vati Chatas Hanoarim Gedola Ma'od. It says that the sins of the young men, they were very great. You see that they're called sinful because they took by force, because they struck another person. And the Gemara continues, Ravuna says, Tikotzetz yado, such a person, his hand should be cut off. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, this is a pasuk in Eov, the pasuk says, Uzroa Rama Tishaver, it says such a hand that is high, that is lifted up, Tishaver, it should be broken. And the Gemara continues, Ravuna cuts yada, Ravuna actually would cut off the hand of a person who would habitually strike his fellow. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Lazar says, Ein lo takon ela kavura, such a person who strikes others, his only solution is that he should be buried. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, V'ish zeroa lo haaretz, it says the person of the arm, again lifting his arm, lo haaretz, to him is the earth, meaning to say a reference to burial. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Lazar says, Lo nitna karka ela lebales roos, land can only be given to people who are strong. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, V'ish zeroa lo haaretz, the person who is strong, he will be able to have land. And Rashi explains, Lo nitna karka kolomer ein roy liknos karka ela levnei zeroa, somebody can only acquire land if he's a strong person. Because through land there's a lot of arguments. Shabos, behemos, mafsidos, animals come and they ruin the land. V'ganovim boin v'gonvin, and thieves come and steal. V'orin people protest over it. So a person has to be strong in order to stand up against those people. And the Gemara continues, V'yam Reish Lakish, and Reish Lakish says, Mai dechsiv, what does it mean when it's written in the pasuk in Mishlei Oved ad Masa Yisbalochem, that the person who serves his land will be satisfied with bread? Emosa adam atzmo ke'eved la'adam, if a person makes himself like a slave to the land, he really works the land, then Yisbalochem, so then he'll be satisfied with bread, then he'll be successful, V'imla, but if not, Lo Yisbalochem, then he won't be satisfied with bread. V'yam Reish Lakish, and Reish Lakish says, Oved kochavim shashavas, if a non-Jew keeps Shabbos, chayev misa, then he's chayev misa. A non-Jew has to work on Shabbos. He's not allowed to keep the Shabbos and rest. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, v'yom v'layla lo yishbosu, it says day and night they shouldn't rest. V'yomar mar, and the master said, azhara shalahen, the warning for them, this warning that they shouldn't keep Shabbos, zuhi misason, that is their death penalty warning as well. That's the punishment if a non-Jew keeps Shabbos. Amar Ravina, and Ravina says, afilu sheni b'Shabbos. That would be true even if a person keeps the second day of the week. Let's say Monday he keeps his Shabbos, he rests on that day as if it was Shabbos, that would be the same problem. And the Gemara continues, V'lichshav agabe zayin mitzvahs. Well, if this is a commandment for non-Jews that they cannot keep the Shabbos, that should be counted among the zayin mitzvahs, among the Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach. And the Gemara says, Kiko choshev shevi al tasa. When we're counting 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach, that refers to things that are shevi al tasa, things that they should not do. But kumaseh, but things that they should do. In this case, they should work on Shabbos. They should work every day of the week. Lo choshev, that is not counted. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph.